So, along the lines of disinformation and coming from a position of what I consider uneducated, and not necessarily purposefully or belligerently, but there's a starting point that people are there's a point of division that's being created here. Okay, and I would like to, from my perspective, my point of education, identify and resolve it. Okay, that point of division is centered on this question of whether the Constitution is something that we should properly bring forward, whether it was ever ratified and established, or we should go back as a founding document with the Articles of Confederation. It takes hundreds of times. I've read the law that I'm trying to apply in the things that I do just hundreds and thousands of times. I meet people all the time who say, oh yeah, I kind of glanced at that thing once and now I know everything I need to know. We are programmed, we are mind controlled. It takes decades to unravel that. You know, fortunately, there is a link between us all, that there's this something called a morphogenetic field that has to do with quantum mechanics that our friend Dr. Val has studied a lot. When one person gets it, within the hologram reality that we're in, it carves a pathway, blazes a trail for others to get it a little bit easier. Okay, so we are in a hologram, and in the nature of a hologram, the part holds the blueprint of the whole, which means when one part gets an aha experience and a clarity of understanding, it does permeate through. So that, you know, in terms of quantum physics, we don't need hundreds of millions of people to get what we're doing here. That's why a small number of us can literally shift the reality.
Amen.
So on that, and that's the fundamental, the foundation where I'm coming from in terms of pushing clarity in education. So specifically on that issue, I looked again at the Constitution, the Articles of Confederation. You read the Articles of Confederation, it starts by saying one very simple thing. The style of this confederacy shall be known as the United States of America. Okay. As far as I know, that is the first time that term, the United States of America, was established. That's 1777. A year before the Declaration of Independence, that established that we meaning the 13 colonies, are now free and independent states. That was never negated or refuted. That has been the foundation ever since, which meant that those free and independent states had the right and the capacity and authority to confederate, to create some form of federation through the Articles of Confederation. They styled it as the United States of America. Where do then we see the United States of America referenced from that point forward? The preamble of the Constitution. The preamble starts, we the people of the United States. There are people out there arguing that we the people of the United States was just those very few people who signed it. And you know, that could be true, but it doesn't matter, okay? Because in any contract, normally the contract starts by saying this contract or agreement is entered into by and between the following parties, Party A and Party B. The preamble says that. And that's all we really need to know as what is the lawful basis of the Constitution being a valid contract, social political contract between high contracting parties. Who are the two high contracting parties? What does the Constitution preamble say? We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, etc., all the things that it lists, do establish and ordain this Constitution for the United States of America. Those are the two contracting parties. So anybody who says we have to go back to the Articles of Confederacy are missing the point. Okay. The underlying foundation is the Articles of Confederacy, and the Constitution establishes a contract between those two contracting parties. Okay. In between, there's something known as the Northwest Ordinance. Anybody here not familiar with that? Okay. Who here is familiar with it? Okay. The Northwest Ordinance was a reference to the what was called the Northwest Territory, which is not Washington and Oregon. At the time, it was the Ohio Valley, out of which I believe ultimately 13 states were created. And the Northwest Ordinance established the basis, the foundation, from the 13 original colonies, now free and independent states, of the equal footing before the Constitution of when the Northwest Territories became free and independent states, because they were not previously contracting parties with the Articles of Confederation. Okay, so from that point forward, it established that any territories that would then become states would become states on a basis of free and independent sovereign status, which was then recognized by the Constitution as being guaranteed a republic form of government. So they all bind together. So if you're talking about the Constitution, you cannot not be talking about the Articles of Confederation, but you certainly can't say forget the Constitution because it has flaws, and go back to only the Articles of Confederation. It is a contract. Here is the basis and the essence of why it can never be removed. Anybody here know the term constitutor? Who doesn't know that term? Constitutor. Write it down, get a law dictionary, and look up what that word is. Okay? Obviously, it is etymologically, which means roots of words, related to the term constitution. The constitutor is defined as he who takes upon him or itself the obligation of a debt previously against another party. Okay? So the United States, which is the federal entity established by the Constitution, became, by contract between two high contracting parties, which was the Confederacy of the United States of America and the United States as that federal entity, became the constitutor because from 1776 to 1783, the free and independent states took upon themselves debts. In order to integrate and consolidate that and also have a uniform structure of commerce and a relationship amongst the international relationships, the law of nations, the United States was established. Okay,
in debt. It's already established in debt.
Well, yeah, I'm going to get to that. So what happened is the constitutor, the United States, took upon itself. See everybody going like this?
Oh, thank you. Yeah, come on.
We're sitting next to the polar bear.
84 is good enough.
You want to be warm, go sit next to CWC radiates. I think it's because he's from Scotland or something.
I'm a mutt.
Yeah. So the United States was the constitutor by that contract. Okay, it took upon itself the obligation of the debt. Was that a good thing or a bad thing? Yes.
A state cannot, the union must pay their share of debt.
Pardon?
A state cannot leave the union unless they pay their share of the debt.
No. The states did not have the debt once the constitutor took upon itself the obligation. Okay, that established the sovereignty of 13 republics. Okay, now when I say was that a good thing or a bad thing, and I say yes, it's because that's where the fatal flaw in the hook is.